trial, 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 trial,
What up, what up, what up, and welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Binge. We are going to be doing a lot of draft coverage, a little bit of Saber talk, because you know what? Draft week came and went pretty quick, right, Graham?
Yeah, it did. I'm pumped though. The Bills did a good job, and the Sabres got 4 games left.
Yeah. I also want to introduce our good producer, Greg Halpin. Pop yourself up on the screen, give him a wave. Make sure you like, share, follow on any place you watch, listen to your podcast. We are there, we are streaming there, and we are ready to go today. As I said, draft week came and went. Some surprise picks in the first round that led the Bills to maybe get what many would think is a top 15 talent. Maybe not how many teams viewed him being as a top 15 pick, but the talent of being a top 15 pick was there.
We'll get into that though.
Yeah, let's just we'll get into that in a little bit here. Obviously, the draft is going to be the biggest part of our segment today, but we're just going to touch up on the Sabres a little bit. 4 games left in the season. We're sitting at 13, 31, and 7. You think we can make the playoffs?
No, we were eliminated a long time ago. Don't you know? But it'd be nice if they could hit 17 wins for the season and be like, oh, okay, at least we tried at the end.
Yeah. I mean, what is a good way to end the season other than, let's be realistic. They play, I believe, let me pull it up here. They play the Islanders twice and the Pittsburgh Penguins twice to end the season, and both teams have been a headache for the Sabres. The Islanders just kind of push us all over the ice.
The Islanders are a much better team than the Penguins are right now. The Penguins, obviously, they got Malkin, they got Crosby, they got Gensel, they got Letang. Like they still got their core pieces there,
right?
And they can put it on you every night. But the Islanders are going to be a tougher thing to deal with, and they're our next 2 games.
Yep.
I don't know, man. It'd be nice to see them take half.
I would like to see 2 wins.
Yeah.
The Penguins. These are both playoff teams. They're both.
Are they both in the playoffs?
I think so.
I haven't looked.
I mean,
the playoffs are pretty much locked up at this point.
But I mean, Crosby does what he does along the boards behind the net. He's a playmaker. So I think it's going to be a little harder for us personally to win against the Penguins than the Islanders. I just think maybe winning 1 against each is good. That's a good way to end the season.
I mean, I'd like to see them get 6 points.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe see the young guys just finish strong. Those guys have really stepped up, towards the end. I know the past couple games, I believe we're on a 4-game losing streak. Yep, 4-game losing streak. We lost 2 to the Bruins and 2 to the Rangers. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
The Bruins are probably winning the Stanley Cup this year.
They might.
That's the way I see it.
I'd be surprised, though, because they're 29 and 14, and the Islanders and them already have 30-plus wins. So I'm assuming all of these teams are playoff bound.
I'm pretty sure the Bruins need – the reason that they traded for Taylor Hall was because they needed somebody to help with the playoff push.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that they're right there.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I mean, the youth has been a big step up. I mentioned earlier, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has come up. He's been given a few starts here as a Sabre. And Graham, I know you've been high on him. So let's talk about the young man for right now and see if the first 4 splashes of experience are what you expected.
Well, they are what I expected as far as his talent level. Like he's shown it on the ice. He has definitely got the skill to be an NHL goaltender. Yep. I just don't think he's quite ready, which I'm a little upset that they pulled him up to begin with. Because if you remember a few weeks back, I talked about not bringing him up, just letting him get his starts in Rochester.
Yep.
Don't ruin his what's the word I'm looking for? Development. Yep. Don't ruin his development by bringing him up too soon. And he's gotten a taste of the NHL now. He's got like a 9.16 .906 save percentage right now, which is not horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small sample size.
Right.
I'd have to see him through a lot more games in the NHL. I think maybe another half a year down in Rochester and he'll be ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. I think that they should have, maybe let him stay down there. Don't throw him up in the bigs yet, and let that momentum of his development keep going in the upward trend. Caleb King, hi. You're saying hi to Eric and I. Thank you, Caleb, for joining us here today. And for those of you who don't know, Caleb actually made our logo for the Buffalo Binge. So if you need anything done like that, make sure you hit up Caleb. I'm sure he'd be willing to help you out. Thank you again, Caleb, for being here. And James.
Thanks for being here as always, James.
Thanks for tuning in, James. It's great to have you back. But yeah, the young goaltender, he's having a rough start. I mean, he's, like you said, 4 games, a 90 save percentage, 14 goals allowed. But he's playing some of the best rosters in the NHL.
Yep.
And that's something that's hard to kind of just jump into from the AHL to the NHL, coming in against hot playoff contender teams. That's hard. That's a big adjustment. So I think personally, with that being said, and with a youthful defensive front in front of him, I think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's done all right with the circumstance.
I would say that he has played much better than Dustin Tokarski.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it goes to show that guy hadn't played a game in like 4 years.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I said, keep him down for another half a season. Let's see what happens if he gets the majority of the starts in Rochester, and then possibly pull him up halfway
Yeah.
through next year.
I mean, goaltenders are one of those positions they take. I mean, like any hockey player, they take a long time to actually get to the NHL and be prepared for the NHL. Hockey's one of those sports where kind of like you're not really hitting there until you're around 24 or 25, from forwards to defenseman, and around 26, 27 when you're a goalkeeper, do you really start showing what you got in the NHL. So we'll see how that unfolds for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I'm sure we'll see more of him next year.
Not to
Go ahead.
interrupt you guys. Did you know he got injured yesterday?
I did not.
Did not.
I did not.
Yeah. I mean, we apologize, guys. It's just we've been so wrapped up with the draft over the weekend. No, he actually exited the yesterday's game with a left ankle injury.
Oh, wow.
So with 4 games left in the season, he's probably done, I'd assume.
Yeah. He's probably out.
I would hope so. It's the same reason why they didn't
thanks for that filling.
Eichel back too.
Yeah.
Same reason. Just
like you said, man, we've been so wrapped up in the NFL stuff this past weekend. I didn't get a chance to even see the game last night. That's why I'm not really diving into it. All I know is, we're just going to go over the past few games, what they look like, the outlook for the rest of the season. The youth has been great here with Middlestat, Thompson. We talk about them every week when we talk Sabres because they are the bright spot of the team. So there's nothing new going on there. I just think that the argument is being made for Sam Reinhart, and that's the one key thing I wanted to talk to you about today about the Sabres was Sam Reinhart moves before the deadline to the center position. Many speculated maybe a team wanted to see him there. Come the trade deadline, we keep him. And I got to say, he's really stepped up as a center. And the more and more I see from this team, I know the past 4 games have been kind of rough. We've lost by a lot. But, again, this is a youthful team playing very experienced, high-skilled teams in their division, especially with the Bruins and Rangers. Those guys have been playing together for a few years now. At least their core. So Sam Reinhart, I think, is making a case, and the Sabres are making even a bigger case. And I hate saying this, but I feel like every day the Sabres play, Jack Eichel becomes more and more expendable. And
I wouldn't say he's expendable. I would say more along the lines of Sam Reinhart is finally developing into the player that we thought we were getting at number 2 overall back in 2014. I think that he can carry himself on his own line now, which means you can split them up. And Reinhart can be your second line center, which is what we've been missing for so long.
Right.
And it's nice because now you can put younger pieces around Jack Eichel that have performed well. You can keep Olofsson with him. You can even put Skinner back up with him, and Skinner can have a resurgence in his career.
Yeah.
He's had a couple down years now, and that's mostly because he's not on the same line with Jack Eichel. So you can put Middlestat on the third line, Thompson on your third line. Like, all these young players are starting to move forward in their careers.
Yep.
And the development of most of these guys they look pretty good.
They do. And
they're not going to put up 30 goals a season, most of them. Some of them might not even put up 20, but they're very, very compatible with each other. And that Thompson, Asplund, and Middlestat line has been one of the best lines in hockey for the last month.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can keep that core group of guys together and also bring back Jack Eichel, move Reinhart onto his own line with a couple guys that like Cousins or whoever.
Right.
You have the pieces there. Now it's just figuring out how they all fit together.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that the Sabres really need to do anything too drastic going into the end of the season, going into free agency after the postseason's done.
Yep.
The draft, obviously, the expansion draft. There's a lot of players that you're going to look at on your team, and especially the young talent, where you're going to be like, okay, we need to protect them.
Right.
I think the first priority, though, is definitely re-signing Reinhart and protecting him.
Yeah, I mean,
because otherwise you're going to be in trouble if you protect him and he decides not to re-sign with you.
Right. And, in a season that's been full of ups and downs for the Sabres, COVID-19, the veterans not working out, Jack Eichel going down, the goalie carousel that we've had here. Yep. Sam Reinhart has still managed to have a very productive season for himself in my eyes. I mean, 37 points, 23 goals, 14 assists. He's honestly making the people around him better. And, He's dishing the puck when he needs to be dishing. He just happens to be in the right place at the right time. It's
Right.
almost like the people that they play with him. He's very compatible and he's very adjustable to the lines that he's put on. I mean, just going from winger to center alone, that's a tough task against the rest
Well,
of
they've
the
they've
NHL.
experimented with that in the past, and it hasn't
Yeah.
worked out. And I think most of that also comes down to coaching
Mhm.
and them trying to force Sam Reinhart to be the player that he's not.
Yeah.
And it seems like Don Granato has been able to find a way to make every player on this team better by just letting them do their thing.
Yeah.
And it is very refreshing. How many guys can you protect in the expansion draft? James says. I believe
I
you
have
can
that up.
protect 9 forwards.
Greg's got it.
Do you have it, Greg?
Yep. I saw his comment. I started pulling it up. So clubs have two options for protecting players. They can protect 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goaltender, or 8 skaters total and 1 goaltender. So if you have that 8th forward that you want to keep, then you have an option there.
Right. Right. And I think, what was really nice to see of Sam Reinhart, thank you for that, Greg, by the way. What was nice to see about Sam Reinhart was when everything was kind of going to shambles and the veterans weren't stepping up and Jack Eichel went down, he really stepped into that role of I'm gonna put the spotlight on me now, because he kind of is the next in line. If it's not going to be Ristolainen and it's not going to be your goalkeeper and Olmark because he keeps getting injured, the bright young talent you have to step up is Sam Reinhart. He's the next in line, and he did that, and I think he did it gracefully. I think, and I feel like he handled the pressure very well. And going to what Graham said with Don Granato, I think he is communicating with these guys a lot better. I mean, Sammy, he's still young, and he's been living in the shadow of Jack Eichel since he got here. Maybe Sammy was able to be this player the whole time, maybe not. But when you got a player like Jack Eichel, it can kind of flood out the rest of your club and the talent that you actually have there. And being able to step up in a season that has just been full of it for the Sabres, I mean, it's a good thing to see. Though now the only issue is we only signed him for a 1-year contract. Does he want to come back? Did he prove himself enough to where he's going to go off and make
A lot of money.
8.5 million a year? Who knows? I mean, because he's young. He's a very young player.
Yep.
Teams like the Kings, I feel like, would be all over Sammy Reinhart.
I think most teams would be all over Sam Reinhart, to be honest. He's proven himself this year. He on a shortened season, especially for COVID.
Yep.
And the fact that the Sabres just played horribly for most of the year,
Mm-hmm.
he put up over 20 goals.
Yeah.
So I would say that is something that the other organizations around the league are going to look at, and they're going to be like, okay, this guy can clearly play.
Right.
He was on a bad team, and he put up 23 goals, 14 assists.
Mm-hmm. With a bunch of youngsters.
Yeah, with a bunch of guys,
NHL guys.
basically a bunch of castaways for the rest of the league too.
Yeah.
So
that being said, I think Don Granato made himself a very good case. I know there's still 4 games left, and they could get completely blown out. But with that being said, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen now goes out with an injury. It's another issue that the Sabres have to deal with. It's been endless.
Takarski's starting the last 4. It's got to be.
Or that guy that they signed when they traded Johansson. I forgot his name already, but
oh yeah.
I just think with what Granato's been handed and what Kevin Adams has been handed, to at least see what you got in your youth and the product you put on the ice the past month of hockey has been 100% of a flip from what we saw up to that point. So Don Granato definitely made a case. I know Tortorella has many reports coming out in Columbus saying he's going to be out of there.
Yep.
And there's plenty of coaches that are apparently going to be seeing heads rolled. So we'll see how it unfolds, but I definitely think Don Granato earned his right to take a step into that office and plead his case for the Buffalo Sabres moving forward. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully they can finish 500 in the last 4 games here.
I'm thinking if they could win 2 and go to overtime and, I mean, lose in overtime, that gets you 6 points to end the season. If you get 6 points in these last 4 games, I'd say that the end of the year is somewhat of a success.
Okay, cool. I agree. I just want to see them keep going on the up and up. The youth looks great. Can't say it enough.
Yep.
Our farm team next year is going to be crazy because I think a lot of these guys are going to be back down there personally, but maybe not. We might see like a very young
I'd really
college
like to
esque
see.
team.
I would like to see Asplund. I would like to see Borgen. I would like to see Jesus, Jacob Bryson. I would like to see those guys become everyday players for the Sabres at this point.
I think that would be a good mix. Last and not least, one of a Buffalo loved player is calling it quits at the end of the year. His name is Ryan Miller, goalkeeper for the Sabres from 2002 to 2014. Was a part of a lot of good teams in the early 2000s.
0506.
Definitely the goalie that I grew up with, him and a little bit of Biron, and it's a long time coming. Ryan Miller, he's 40 plus years old, still playing in the NHL. I think he's done a great job. He had a great career here in Buffalo. And
He did.
I hope that he retires a Sabre if he can.
He can't.
No?
He's already calling it quits.
Dang, I wish that they could sign him for like one day.
Just one, kind of like what the NFL does.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
It'd be nice if they could, but Ryan Miller, regardless, is one of the top American-born goaltenders as far as not statistically, but as far as fame.
Yeah.
He won that gold medal for in the Olympics. I don't remember what year it was. It might have been 2012.
I don't know. I have no idea.
But that was like the dream season where Canada was supposed to take the whole thing, and there was zero chance that the U.S. team was going to win, and they won it in the shootout. And Ryan Miller was like instantly famous for that.
Was that Oshie's year?
I don't
when
remember.
Oshie did the penalty shots.
I don't remember. I know Sidney Crosby did one.
But yeah, I mean Miller, 4-time All-Star. You guys can see it on your screen.
Yep.
28 shutouts, 91 save percentage, and almost over 100 wins compared to losses here in Buffalo. I mean, he was a dominant goal netminder for us here in Buff, and a lot of people were worried about what was going to happen after Hasek left, and we got a little bit of Biron, and then we got Miller, and we kind of transitioned pretty well, I would say. It's hard to replace a Dom Hash, but getting a goalkeeper who's got almost, who has 98 more wins than losses in Buffalo. Wish we could say that now, but we can't.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you on a wonderful career, Ryan Miller. I know you probably won't ever listen to this, but if you ever do, it was great watching you, and I'm glad that you had a wonderful career up to this point. We're able to stay relevant at 40 years old. A lot of goalies, they get older, but they don't really stick around like that. He's been a starter for a long time.
The last few years he's been a backup most places. I think Vancouver was the main one, if I'm not mistaken. He finished his career in Vancouver.
No, he's been in Anaheim.
He's Anaheim.
Anaheim?
Yep.
Okay. I forgot about that. I remember when he was with Vancouver for a while.
Yeah, he was with Vancouver.
He's mostly been a backup to Gibson in Anaheim, and it's unfortunate because the guy definitely had the skill set for most of his career, but you could tell after he left the Sabres, he had a couple down years, then he had a couple decent years, and then the skill level dropped, and that's what happens with age. It's sad, especially when you see guys you grew up watching. In particular for me, I grew up watching this dude. I didn't really start getting into hockey until around 2003, 2004, when he was just starting to come up.
When we were good.
Yeah. Yeah. But we were young.
Yeah.
So that was, I had to be like 8 or 9 years old when I first saw Ryan Miller. And it's just sad because you watch guys like that you grew up watching, their careers just drop off because of age. Mm-hmm. And then they retire and you're like, man, I remember when this guy was playing, and
I mean, he was dominant.
Yeah, he was.
He was dominant in that a lot of teams respected his play style, and like I said, it's another one bites the dust. It's just a long time coming, and he had a great career. I don't know if it's Hall of Fame worthy, but Ryan Miller, fantastic goalkeeper and fantastic person, did a lot for the community of Buffalo while he was here too. So. I'm good with the Sabre talk for now, man. I don't really have too much more with what's been going on. Like I said, make sure you like, share, follow Facebook, Spotify,
Twitch,
Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. We're there. Hit us up. Tell your friends. Ring the bell. Subscribe. Whatever you got to do just to let you know when we're on and when we're live, and you can join us. We love having you. Again, thank you, James, for being here. And, any comments going forward, we're going to dive into the NFL draft now, mostly Buffalo Bills. What we came away with and how we see the team kind of unfolding going forward here. So The Bills here, Graham, made a trade in the 5th, which we'll dive into that as we go on. But did you see what we got in return for that?
Yeah, we got 2 6s.
2 6
and
allowed us.
And one was right next to our pick that we already had in the 6th. So we had 2 in a row.
Back to back. So it was a good time for the Buffalo Bills. I personally think they did great. What's your comments? What do you think? Let us know. Hit us up in the comments as we're talking about it. But round 1, pick 30, the Buffalo Bills select Greg Rousseau, and we were live for the pick.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Greg was there with us too. I had a great time.
I had a great time too.
Graham says it was okay.
It was okay because, like Greg said before the show, I looked like by the time the pick came in, I was dead tired, and then right after that pick, I instantly crashed because we finished the whole first round live. In case you guys weren't here, you can go back and watch that.
Yep.
It's a 4-hour-long podcast, but we reacted to every pick, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was just so late, and all of us, we work, and
yeah.
I get up early for work. I know you do too, and I know Greg, he does also, and it's just, you get to a point where you're just like, man, I'm ready for bed. But I had a blast doing that with you guys. I really appreciate everybody that tuned into that, because that was a lot of fun. We talked all kinds of draft stuff that night with James, with a couple other people that commented in the chat.
Yep.
It was great. And if you guys want to go back and watch that, go right ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pick, I was super pumped for. You could see it on that.
Yeah.
I freaked out because I thought that this guy was the best pure pass rusher in the draft. The guy has numbers comparable to Chase Young,
if not better.
If not better, exactly. But he took last year off.
Yep.
So that was part of the thing that kind of hurt his draft stock, along with I believe he had like an ankle injury at one point.
At one point, he did, but it wasn't anything serious. The thing, I gotta say, this guy, 15 and a half sacks is no joke. Like Graham said, he opted out last year. He only played in the 2019 season. This kid's 21 years old, 6'7", big frame body, 265 pounds. And James, we see a comment in there. Greg wasn't very happy with the Giants because Greg actually wanted this guy 10 picks earlier.
Yes.
So Greg is probably still salty about it. I'm sure we're not even going to ask him because I already know he is. I mean, it's unfortunate, but this guy's a freak in nature athletically. And that's why I said earlier in the episode when we started, a lot of people thought it was a top 15 talent. Now, what that means is the guy has the tangibles to be great. It does, but he hasn't proven that he's great right now. He's not as surefire as Kyle Pitts and the playmakers that went ahead of him on the offensive side of the ball. But there were a couple DNs taken before him. There were a couple corners. But this guy overall, tangibles going into the NFL, like I said, 6'7", 265, 15 and a half sacks his freshman year, which is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So I know you mentioned that a lot of people were worried sophomore year. You had mentioned earlier that he opted out of the season last year, and at the time when he opted out, the college season was still up in the air. A lot of people didn't know if they were even going to play. So, and a lot of reports have come out, and I guess one of the things that the Bills really did their due diligence on was asking these players that they took who opted out, why did you opt out? Like, that was very important to them. They wanted to know the exact reason. I guess this kid's mom is a nurse, and his brother has asthma, and at the time, the country didn't know how serious COVID was. So he decided to opt out, and for the better of his family and for the better of his teammates. And that was a good excuse for the Bills, but he didn't just sit around. This kid was like 235, 240 pounds that sophomore year when he got 15 and a half sacks. He gained 25 pounds of muscle in 1 year. And that's why Brandon Beane came out and said during his pro day that he wasn't worried about the numbers because his body's probably not used to playing with 25 extra pounds of muscle on it to go full contact and stuff like that. So this guy has all the tangibles to be elite in the NFL, no doubt about it. And I think that's what they're banking on. And Brandon Beane's already come out and said he's going to get some snaps.
Not only that, Mom, I see your comment. We'll get to that in a couple minutes, but we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Greg Rousseau, the Bills' first round pick, because I'm sure that you don't really know anything about him, so I'm going to inform you, Mom. No, the other cool thing about Greg Rousseau is Bruce Smith sent him a video message. It's all over all the Bills' social media pages that Greg Rousseau sat down and had a little conversation with Bruce Smith. He's like, there's legends, and then there's Bruce Smith, which I thought was the coolest thing. But Bruce Smith is going to take this kid under his wing because he sees him as a dominant force in the NFL. Like, this kid has the intangibles. He's got the skill already somewhat there. It just needs to be fine-tuned. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, this kid's huge. He's 6'7". He's just a brick shithouse, basically. He's huge.
Greg, if you got that picture we wanted to pull that up right now, just so people can see the comparison of a normal human being compared to this freak of nature that the Bills took in the first round.
But I'm so excited for this kid, not only because he seems to have great character. Like, I mean, obviously it's somewhat of a show because you don't know what he's like yet.
Yeah.
But everything that I've seen him in interview-wise so far, this kid just seems to have a great attitude about coming to Buffalo, about wanting to be here, about wanting to be the best version of himself that he can be, which is what Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane preach all the time. I'm just super excited for this kid. Yeah, look at this picture. This guy is freakishly huge compared to Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. Like, Sean McDermott's got his
Brandon Beane is legitimately
he's got his hand out like at his head to shake his hand.
He is legitimately looking. Brandon Beane is like, what did I just draft? The Mountain Man?
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that there's like 4 guys like this that they drafted this year.
Yeah,
they're just massive human beings, and this team is bringing in quality character along with good talent and phenomenal size. Like, this kid, even if he isn't the best pass rusher in the world, all he's got to do is get his hands up at the line of scrimmage, and he's knocking just about anything down.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, too, you had brought up earlier that he's a little bit of a comparison to Chase Young.
Yes.
He's had better numbers than Chase Young.
And Chase Young went number 1 overall last year.
And Nick Bosa.
Yes.
He's got better numbers in 1 year than both of them.
Sorry. Thank you, Greg, for correcting me.
This kid is so unrefined and so raw. I mean, he literally played wide receiver in high school. He's only played D-end in the University of Miami. He graduated high school early and took advanced classes so he could get to Miami sooner to learn how to play defensive end correctly. This kid is committed. He is the exact DNA that the Buffalo Bills organization looks for. And I think you hit the nail right on the head with saying the type of character he is, because they have a certain DNA that they look for in guys. And a lot of it has to deal with your off-field issues. And that's why it was so important for them to know why these players opted out. Was it more of a selfish thing, or was there like a real reason why you like decided to ruin your chances of possibly going in the first round or ruining your draft stock in general? But I think that this is a great pick. I do think this is somewhat of a steal in the first round. And
I do.
I would ask Greg to chime in a little bit, because Greg did want him, what was it, 10, 12 picks earlier. So
it was like,
for him to slide even 10, 12 picks from somebody else's team who wanted him, that tells me that he's kind of a steal. Would you say, Greg?
I mean, he definitely could be considered a steal. The thing is he, even if the Giants picked him at 20, he's still very high risk, high reward. Like you were saying, he could be one of the best. He could be your next Bruce Smith, or he could be an okay pass rusher, or he could fly.
I mean, the next Alex Carrington,
or who's the one guy from the pass rusher from Penn State you didn't like?
Aaron Maven.
I mean, that's always a possibility. It's a high risk, high reward thing. I would have been okay with the Giants because of how much they have a need of pass rush to go with this guy, because he just, with absolute raw talent, the numbers he put up, adding mechanics to it, like having him learn stuff from Bruce Smith, get experience from him, get experience from the defensive ends you guys already have. I mean, I love the pick personally, especially for you guys. I mean, like I said, I would have loved it 10 picks earlier for the Giants.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you said, learning from the DNs, the good thing is these guys don't have to get rushed right in. I know Brandon Beane came out and said that Rousseau and our second round pick, Boogie Basham, who we'll talk about shortly here, these guys are going to be injected right into the mix right now with AJ Epinesa, Ed Oliver, Mario, Jerry. All these guys are going to be in there, and they're going to see how this works out. Brandon Beane's very curious to find out what happens when he gets Mario Addison's snap count back down to his normal number, his normal range. He calls them cash downs, which is where, these DNs usually make their money in sacking and getting to the passer. And he thought that Mario Addison was on the field a little bit too much last year and wants to lower that. And who better to bring in than two young studs? I mean, Greg Rousseau, if he's learning from one of the best, Kyle Williams is going to be there. All the guys, they're already going to take him under their wings. Mario Addison already came out, texted Brandon Beane and said, I can't wait to meet these two young men. I will help progress them. And from the sounds of it and how Brandon Beane worded everything, he made it kind of clear that Addison isn't going anywhere. We're not going to be cutting him. So,
Billy, what do you mean by 9?
Billy Stevens, 9.
9.
Let us know what 9 is.
Yes, what is 9? But I do want to say, us drafting 2 defensive ends in the first 2 rounds, what does that mean for Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison? And who's the other guy, the backup?
Daryl Johnson.
Daryl Johnson. Like, Daryl Johnson's pretty much guaranteed to not make this team now.
No.
Because you got AJ Epinesa from last year. You're not carrying 6 defensive ends on this team.
Well, that's the thing. That's what everybody's talking about is they're no longer grouping just D tackles and D ends.
It's all defensive linemen.
It's just D line.
Well, I have seen that they've talked about Boogie Basham as being a guy that could move inside also.
Yeah, both these guys can.
Yes. So I guess I'm just wondering how this is all going to shake out. Does Jerry Hughes' contract now become more expendable? Does Mario Addison's contract now become more expendable? Because you got these young guys coming in that they're built to make a difference. We don't know if they're going to be able to yet, but they have the size and the youth and the overall raw ability to be able to make a difference. Like, do these contracts now become super expendable, like, because you got these guys in the pipeline?
No, I honestly think that Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are guaranteed another year here. I think that this opens up more of a question for maybe your Harrison Phillips, your Justin Zimmers, your backup D tackles, because one of the big things about Rousseau coming out in the first round too was the fact that he can play interior and exterior. He is all over that D line, and he actually had a lot of development in the interior part of the field along that line, getting to the pass rushers. Same thing with Basham. That guy he could play all 4 positions along the front, just like Rousseau. These guys are very versatile, very big, and very stout. In fact, let's just get right into Boogie. We know what we're getting in Rousseau, tall, lanky player with a lot of upside. Boogie Basham comes from Wake Forest. And I'll tell you what, he's been a monster there.
Power.
And pure power. He's 6'3", 274 pounds. A lot of people view that as pretty small as the interior, but he uses his hands very aggressively and is not afraid to just run right at you. He's like a bowling ball.
Yes.
And he's relentless.
And a fast one.
He's a high motor guy. He had the 19.5 sacks in his career at Wake Forest. He's been around the ball a lot, and you can't really ask for a better 1-2 punch. Boogie Basham was actually rated or slated in some mock drafts to potentially go in the first round. This is a first-round talent that you got in the second round, and a lot of teams agree with that. That's why everybody was so surprised that the Bills went DN 2 times in a row. But these 2 guys that we took at DN, man, they're versatile, and they're going to be all over that D-line.
I agree. And Billy brings up a good point here. You win from the trenches on both sides of the ball. I 100% agree, and that's exactly what we did in this draft. Is we drafted 3 offensive linemen. I know that we lost 1 to retirement, Trey Adams, who he hadn't made an impact yet, but he could have. And I know that was a guy that you were excited about this upcoming year. Not to mention the fact that you lose Ty and Secchi in free agency. You got a couple of guys on 1-year deals. You got Feliciano on a 1-year deal, and you got Bacher on a 1-year deal. So now you're bringing these guys into the pipeline who are huge too. So I just wanted to address that real quick, Billy. That's a great point. We'll get into that though, but first I want to go back a little bit because I do want to talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit. I know that we're talking about just because we got a question about it.
Just because you got the question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
I think he's going to retire. I don't think because he's calling for the GM to be fired if he's coming back. I don't think that they're going to make that move. And I think Aaron Rodgers, out of spite, just because of the guy that he is going to be like, you know what, I retire. See you later.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is retiring. I think they're going to trade him. And they're not going to sit around and play these games anymore. If he's serious about not playing, they're going to get what he's worth for next year's draft. They're going to reload. They're going to stock up. you can get a lot for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what teams really got it. I know the Dolphins have a lot of picks after the past couple of years of trades they made.
Yep.
So that could be somebody who I think could make a run at an Aaron Rodgers if Tua Tagovailoa isn't working out for you. But I don't see the GM getting fired. I don't see Aaron Rodgers retiring. But every year we kind of go through this. This is kind of like a merry-go-round thing.
James says he thinks he gets traded to Denver.
And he could. There's teams like the Dolphins and the Broncos are two teams that I would say are very much willing to trade the farm for an Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You've got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy out there in Denver with a young Noah Fant. You know Aaron Rodgers loves his big wide receivers and tight ends. That's a nice group of guys to start out.
It would be a great fit for Rodgers.
Same thing with the Dolphins, though. You just went out. You got Waddle in the top 10. You got Gesicki. You've got Devontae Parker. You got the pieces now. So it's an interesting thing. I feel like we're just on the same merry-go-round for the past 3 years. Aaron Rodgers has threatened to leave or not play. And the Packers, again, don't help them in the first round. They go defense again with Eric Stokes.
Which was also kind of a bad pick.
And
we said it was kind of a bad pick.
Yeah, it was more of a surprise.
There was better talent on the board at the time.
I think Aaron Rodgers I think he's going to get traded. If anything, he's getting traded, and the Packers are going to move on from this debacle because it's just never ending with Aaron Rodgers. I feel like he's one of those quarterbacks where no matter where he goes, he's going to have an issue pleading his case. Honestly. So,
well, I'm kind of in they're not gonna fire the GM. I think they'll try to trade him, but I think he'll end up retiring. So that's all I want to say about Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to stay on that too long because we're here for the Bills.
Greg, you got an opinion on that though, real quick? Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think he retires. He's got way too much left in the tank, man. He almost just put up an MVP season again this past year. I think he's still got more than enough talent.
He won the MVP this year.
Or maybe he won the MVP. He was in the top.
He did win the MVP.
Yeah.
He did win the MVP.
So, yeah, he just put up an MVP year. I mean, I find it hard to believe that they don't find a trade partner for him. Because, like you said, somebody will give up the house. I mean, we can't rule out Carolina. I mean, Carolina still could. They did just exercise their fifth-year option on Darnold, but they only have Darnold for contract for 2 years. I mean, maybe they have Darnold take a seat back, sit behind Aaron for a year or so, and see what happens. I mean, there's definitely still a lot with the talent that Rodgers comes with. A lot more teams would be interested than you might think of at first.
I just found it very odd that they decided to break the news when they did, because the Bears would have tried making a trade or the
I don't
49ers.
think the Bears the Bears didn't have the capital to make a trade for Aaron
Dude, if
Rodgers.
you saw some of the
that,
offers,
and I don't think the Packers aren't going to trade Aaron Rodgers to an in-division rival.
True,
Yes,
I understand that, but I'm just
that's-
saying, with what the Bears were offering the Seahawks, it was almost ridiculous that the Seahawks weren't taking those deals
for Russell.
For Russell,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 2 firsts, Khalil Mack, a wide receiver, and a corner.
What's going on with Russell Wilson? Are they still shopping him around? No, they're done.
I was going to say, what if they swapped Russell for Rodgers?
No.
And then Seattle gets like an extra first-round pick since Rodgers is a bit older.
Honestly, I think that Seattle automatically wins the Super Bowl next year.
Damn.
If they have Rodgers, Rodgers and DK Metcalf, dude.
Yes.
With Tyler Lockett, nonetheless, it's like a Randall Cobb for him.
Yes, that would be a better fit. And then Russell, if Russell goes to Green Bay,
you'll see how bad Green Bay is without Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, exactly. Russell Wilson's the kind of guy that doesn't really elevate his team the same way that Aaron Rodgers does.
So, all right, so let's get back to the draft. Got a little off track there. First round, Greg Rousseau, DN, Miami. Second round, Bills go Boogie Basham, DN out of Wake Forest.
His name's Reggie, correct? Reggie Basham?
No.
That's his real name?
Basham.
Carlos Basham.
Yep. He prefers Boogie, I guess. He liked to dance.
I
think these guys are going to show you some development early, and they're going to get involved in things very early on this team, and they're going to be pushing everybody on that D-line. Like I said, guys like Justin Zimmer, Harrison Phillips might become expendable at this point. Maybe Star Latulippe, depending on what goes on with Harrison. If Harrison can fill in and become the run stuffer Star is, Harrison probably has a spot because they're going to try to dump the salary cap at Star Latulippe. But if he can't, then I wouldn't be surprised if Harrison Phillips is traded, let go. He's a beloved Bill. Same thing with Justin Zimmer. but Justin Zimmer gave himself a case last year.
Yep.
His biggest game being against the New England Patriots, stripping the ball from Cam Newton on the final drive in the first game against the Patriots last year.
To lock up the win.
So that it's going to be it's very hard to make this team. It is, and that is something that everybody from NFL Network to ESPN to CBS, everybody knows it. This team is very hard to make this roster, and that's why a lot of people weren't surprised that the Bills traded up at some points in these drafts to get higher quality talent. But at the end of the day, these guys are great at what they do, and all the guys they took, they firmly believe that competition and everything with
he did
getting numbers and everything in there to fill out these rosters is important to him. So.
Yeah, all he wants is the best competition available.
Yes,
he wants to decide from there what he's doing, and he just wants to bring in the most talented guys that fit his build of person, not so much ability, but the mold of the kind of person that they want in Buffalo. So these first 2 picks, I love them without a doubt. I always felt like defensive line was the spot that we needed to address the most throughout the draft, and they did it the first 2 picks, and it made me so excited. I know you were talking corner and getting some help. Yeah, we didn't really address corner the way that you would have liked, but I felt like Levi's here on a 1-year deal. He's already proven to be a quality second guy behind Trey White. He's already familiar with everything that we got going on, and if Levi Wallace can have a better year this year than he has in previous years, he gets that good extension that he's been looking for.
This is about the time you're expecting Levi Wallace to have a breakout year too. He's in his mid-20s. He's ready to roll. He's been in the same scheme for the past 3-4 years now. He's ready to get after it. And just before we move on to the 3rd round, I think we're starting to see a prototype from Brandon Beane in terms of the kinds of DNs that he looks for. If you go back to the Carolina Panther days, Coney Ealy, Greg Hardy, Julius Peppers, these guys were tall, and lanky, long, maybe not the benders, but they were the tall guys that got to the quarterback.
Well, I mean, look at 2 of those names you named. You got Greg Hardy. So before he ended up doing his craziness, he was one of the top pass rushers in the league. Yeah. You had Julius Peppers, who is arguably one of the best pass rushers in NFL history. And you got a guy like Brandon Beane, who was the assistant GM and then the GM down there at the time. And those are the guys that he's looking at. Like,
right. Coney Ealy was a big guy.
Yeah, Coney Ealy wasn't bad.
And then you go out and you get enough. It's almost like they're transitioning that to Buffalo.
Don't worry, Billy. We'll get into Dane Jackson. We're excited about Dane Jackson.
F.A. Obada is the same type of figure as
I forgot about 6'7", him bringing him in too. So now this stable of defensive linemen that we have just through the first 2 rounds of the draft has improved immensely.
Yes.
And free agency. And there's going to be a lot of really hard decisions going into the season. And I cannot wait for training camp to start because that competition is going to be one of the most exciting to watch.
Yeah, because even if you talk about AJ Epinesa, he's not small. He's 6'7" or 6'6", 255 pounds. Then you got Daryl Johnson, who we took in the 7th round last year, who's 6'6".
Not last year, a couple years back.
A couple years ago. But, these are all – like you're starting to see the prototype of DN that the Bills are looking for. Tall, lanky guys who can get their hands up and get to the quarterback.
Not only that, the lanky guys get the separation on the line. Yeah. So that way, like, the refs are going to see holding penalties more often because guys are going to be extended out, holding on. Yeah. So if you're getting that extra little, I don't know, edge, like 4 inches of reach on a guy, that the ref's going to see it, you get flags all day. And it's going to help us in the long run for that if they're not getting to the quarterback. Not to mention the fact that you can, once you get that separation from a guy on the offensive line, you can kind of do whatever you want with them. You can do your swim, you can do your rip, you can do a spin. You could do a lot of different moves to mess with a guy. So that way he's off balance at all times because he's not able to really size you up. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. And that, that's kind of transitioned into the other side of the ball. We get into the 3rd round. Spencer Brown, 6'8", 300-something pounds. This dude is a mountain.
I think he's 311.
He is a mountain. And I don't even know how the hell this guy moves, to be honest with you. It's 6'8", but he's very athletic. If you go online to the O-line, D-line competition during the Senior Bowl week, they have a video of all these guys going one-on-one, and you will see the athleticism Spencer Brown has. Even if you go back and watch the Senior Bowl game, that's where he kind of improved his draft stock, and that's why he went to the Bills in the 3rd round.
Yep.
Big body frame, like I said, very agile for his frame, and he played at Northern Iowa, so the competition here is going to be kind of like a step up.
Yeah.
But Brandon Beane, during his press conference, talked about Brown coming in and saying, hey, he's one injury away from being in the starting lineup. He's one injury away from being on the field. So he's going to come in here. He's going to have great competition. Right back to what Billy said. Brandon Beane, he expects competition across the whole entire board, and that's how we've handled this and created this type of DNA in this team over the past 3-4 years is because of getting guys like Spencer Brown to come in here and push the back end of the roster and push for a starting role.
Yeah, and you know what's awesome too about this kid is as soon as he got drafted by the Bills, he jumped through a table.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about this kid.
He
is a mammoth of a man.
Yeah,
this guy is tall, just like the first two. Well, just like Greg Rousseau.
Yeah,
and the other tackle that we took. You get these giant human beings that they might move a little slower, but they're also harder to get around.
Yeah.
You put him on the edge, and I know Josh Allen might have a hard time seeing over the top of a couple of these guys, but
I mean he's 6'7".
Yeah, is he really?
Yeah.
He's like 6'4".
He's like 6'5", 6'7". He's
know.
up there, man.
I don't know. We'll have to look that up. I don't know how tall Josh Allen is.
He's pretty tall. That's all
but yeah, it's just exciting because you bring in these large human beings, and it makes it more difficult to get around them. It makes it more difficult to get through them. It also gives you that advantage on the run that those guys are downhill, and you got a lot of man coming at you downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm super excited about. Plus, just the depth on the offensive line. You can never have enough depth on the offensive line, especially quality depth. This kid has had a very, very nice college career.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the competition wasn't as good as in other places, but he still did really well for what he was given. I think he was a 3-year starter or two-year starter there.
I don't know the specifics.
Where was I going with that? I forgot what I was saying. But no, I'm excited to see this kid. He's very excited about coming to Buffalo, which is always something that we love to see. Guys that want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like the perception of the Bills organization now is totally changed just in a couple of years.
Yep.
People want to be in Buffalo. They want to be a part of what's going on here because they see what's happening, and they see that this team is putting itself in a position to be a contender for a long time.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And that's why when you take us into round 4,
we didn't have a 4th round pick, so we had a 5th round pick.
Is that where we were at
yes.
when we took
yes.
Tommy Doyle? Round 5, we go right back at offensive tackle with Tommy Doyle. So the first 4 picks being doubles down on the same position. A lot of people were kind of scratching their head at that, but I like every move we made so far in this draft.
I do too.
Up to round 4. Tommy Doyle, another mammoth of a man, 6'7", 270 pounds. And, Graham was saying it earlier. These guys, they can get out. Like when we're doing tosses or sweeps or stretches, these guys have the mobility to get to the next level and get to the corner or get to the linebacker and the safeties crashing down. They have that ability even though that they're this tall. 6'7", 207 or 6'8", 326 pounds. Oh, all right. Never mind. I was about 80 pounds off from this kid.
Yeah.
But
he's a big boy.
He's another big boy, and like I said, you can't have enough offensive linemen. Being Bills fans last year, we definitely witnessed what can happen, the catastrophe along the offensive line. I'm excited for this type of framework though that we're putting together on the front. I remember listening to Steve Tasker earlier in the week, and when they were making the Super Bowl runs, they had 3 of the top 5 heaviest guys, tallest and heaviest guys in the league. For Thurman Thomas.
Yep.
So Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't, but I like the prototype that they're going with here along the outside of the offensive line, and this is the future. These guys are the future of the Buffalo Bills moving forward along that offensive line. So guys like Bobby
I did not
Hart
know that, Billy.
and Jamil, yeah, both guys are actually extremely athletic. So Billy is right. Spencer Brown was like a 4-sport athlete, and Tommy Doyle, yeah, played hockey. So.
Oh. I want to hear what Greg's take was on these 2 picks because he said something that really was like it really got me laughing before the show. What did you say about these 2 guys, Greg, before the show?
Real quick before that, James asked if we knew if the running back from UB got drafted. He didn't, but he did sign as an undrafted free agent with the Washington football team. Just to point that out real quick. But no, so I was just writing down some notes on the guys you picked, and I was just going through all the different draft picks you guys had, and let me get it pulled up real quick. But I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this, at the guys you got, and I'm like, Spencer Brown, I'm like 6'8", 311 pounds. That's about the biggest tackle you're going to find. I go to my next note, Tommy Doyle, I'm like, maybe the one guy bigger than Brown. He's 6'8" and 320 pounds. 2 mammoth tackles, which...
Mammoth.
I mean... Like you guys were saying with reach, I mean, that goes both ways though, because
yes, it does.
You're trying to go around the guy on the outside when he has a 6'8" wingspan. I mean, that's huge in the trenches there.
Yeah, and seconds matter in football.
Yes,
every second counts.
Every second,
every tenth
of a second matter.
So if that hand can get on you a tenth of a second sooner than you're used to, we win.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see it. Like I said, a lot of people were speculative about doubling down at the same position twice in the draft early, but not having a 4th round pick probably allowed Brandon Beane to say, you know what, you're never safe at offensive line. Let's get another guy in here. And to me, I know we went out and signed Jamil Douglas and Bobby Hart, but those guys are not concrete here. These dudes could literally come in here and compete for the second backup
100%.
position against these guys.
Not to mention Bobby Hart has just a lot of question marks around his career because he's got good games, then he's got horrible games.
Right.
And some of the tape is really bad on Bobby Hart, I will admit.
Yeah.
So everybody on the offensive line is expendable at any time, which is something that Brandon Beane has proven with his style of managing this roster.
Yep.
Any player on this team is expendable at any time except for maybe Josh Allen. It's pretty much plug and play, and you're looking for a type of guy that you want in this organization that's going to fit the mold of the person you want, and then after that, the talent comes second, which is huge to me. I'm really excited about these 2 picks along with the first 2 because it's just size.
Yeah,
you're bringing so much size to this organization, and they're raw, talented individuals that you can mold into whatever you want.
Yep.
It is very exciting to me. I know that you said a lot of fans were really upset that we doubled down on the same position for the first 4 rounds. Well, twice in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
I get it. I know a lot of people wanted a running back. I know a lot of people wanted a cornerback. I know a lot of people wanted us to go for a tight end. I get it. I understand that those are positions of need in your mind. I feel like bringing in these 2 tackles in particular, that helps your running game.
Yeah.
These are guys that are huge individuals. They're not going to be able to get a lot of penetration on a guy like this. This opens up the edge if these guys can get around the edge, and it'll help guys like Devin Singletary, like Zach Moss, Matt Breida, if he gets on the field. It helps you to have big players in your offensive front. Simply for the fact that it's harder to move them.
Right, exactly.
That is it. So I understand that Etienne was the guy that you guys wanted, or Najee Harris.
Yeah.
You would have had to trade up to go after them because they went a couple picks before us. It's fine. I'm good without drafting a running back. And there's tons of guys later in the rounds that we could have drafted that we didn't. I am in the position that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott looked at their roster and they were like, okay, we signed Matt Breida in the offseason for this exact reason.
Exactly.
If Etienne didn't fall to us at 30. That was their just in case. So they were okay with shoring up their offensive line, shoring up their defensive line. This was what I wanted them to do through this draft. It is the best way to make this team better on paper
and longevity.
And yes, and
so
exactly.
So something that I just found out, I just read up on here, is there's a relative athletic score apparently, and that is something that somebody created for football scouting that apparently grades the athleticism per player. And along the offensive line, Spencer Brown was the only player in this draft that scored a perfect 10 relative athletic score. But Doyle was not too far behind him and scored a 9.9.
That's really cool. I didn't know that they did that.
They have like an athletic score that kind of tells you how agile these offensive linemen are. And both guys being 6'8" are at the top.
Oh my God.
The top. And like Billy said, he does have a hockey background. And another interesting thing that I just read up on is Doyle's first ever game in college was against now teammate AJ Epinesa in Iowa.
Yes.
That was his first start, and now they're going to be competing against each other again.
Yeah. And that reminds me also, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Boogie Basham. Him and AJ Epinesa are friends. They went through like the pre-draft process together a little bit last year.
Yep.
And they kept in touch throughout the year. And Boogie said that AJ kind of gave him the lowdown of what it's like in Buffalo, and he said he's super excited to come and be a part of it. I forgot to bring that up, and that's something that AY and I preach all the time about the Bills, bringing in guys that are familiar with other people in this locker room and just giving them that little extra comfort level coming in.
Yep.
That's something that we talk about all the time, and it's huge. There's a couple guys in this draft that are falling into this, and I think as we go on, who did we take next after
Tommy Doyle?
After Tommy Doyle? It was the wide receiver out of Houston, right?
We took Marquez Stevenson, yes, out of Houston. And I'll tell you what, man, I know you got a lot to talk about with this guy. I just want to say this is definitely the Andre Roberts replacement, hopefully.
Yes.
In terms of he's going to do the kick return, punt return. I'm sure Isaiah McKenzie's going to give him a run for his money, along with the Powell kid that we signed in the offseason just for some competition. But you don't take a guy in the sixth and not expect him to come in and give you a little bit more edge in the locker room and on the field and push guys. Marquez Stevenson was huge in Houston, lightning fast.
Yep.
If you have not seen the highlight tape of him yet, there are so many times that he is a stop and go kind of guy, and he just burns people. But I know that you read up on some references, and he has some connections in Buffalo.
He does. Him and Ed Oliver were actually roommates in college.
Yep.
So he hit up Ed Oliver right away when they took him, and he's super pumped about coming here.
Yep.
Which I thought was the coolest thing, that they were like, I don't know if it's normal for defense and offense to be roommates in college.
I don't know. Maybe that's just how that school did it.
Yeah, I guess so. But I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm super excited about this kid. I don't know if he's necessarily going to make the team, because if you've watched previous episodes of this, I think we're pretty well set at wide receiver.
We're stacked.
I think wide receiver position in particular is going to be the hardest position to make on this team.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think this kid's got a shot, like you said, at being a special teamer, punt returner, kick returner, and take those responsibilities away from Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah, I think
he's a little bit bigger than Isaiah McKenzie.
He is. I really like this player a lot. Before the draft even started, I was looking at a lot of receivers, a lot of speedy receivers, and this was one guy who really caught my eye, who I didn't think was even going to be there when the Bills were thinking about getting him. He only had a 5.92 prospect grade this year from all the scouts nationwide. But I'll tell you what, if you're looking for speed and speed kills in this league, this kid's got it.
Yeah.
If they can turn it into something, maybe a more refined route runner. But, I mean, again,
throw him in the slot.
Again, these are all
he could
guys,
be Cole Beasley's replacement in a couple years.
Yeah, and these are all guys. And our producer here, Greg, he said it first before we even started the show. The reason why he loved our draft so much is none of these guys have to just come in and step in and play. These are guys who can all learn behind proven veterans. I mean, this guy's walking into a room with Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, three very productive NFL wide receivers who know how to have success in this league. One being the best slot receiver in the league for the past 4 years, the other being considered a top 5 receiver for the past 3 years, and Emmanuel Sanders being relevant at 34 years old and playing on some of the best high-powered offenses in the league that the league has ever seen.
Yes.
That is quite the situation for a young man to walk into. And I thought our producer Greg definitely hit that nail right on the head earlier before we even started the show, because that was the greatest part about this whole draft. And if you're upset with how the Bills drafted, you have to remember this team didn't need one thing going into this year other than backup. And the starting roles are filled out. We already know who's going to be starting for the most part,
Right.
along the offense and defense. So
yeah, they returned. I believe they returned 20 of 22 starters from last year.
Right.
So you know who is starting where at any time, and like you said, everybody's just added depth or potentially an upgrade through this draft. Like Rousseau, he's probably going to be a starter in my opinion. The kid, he's raw right now, but I don't think that the learning curve is going to be that bad for him. Other than that, everybody's just added depth to positions, and it's nice to be in a position to where we're not drafting for need every pick.
Right.
We're drafting best available throughout this whole entire draft. The fact that Greg Rousseau dropped to us at 30, fell into our lap was great, and it was kind of funny too because Jason Owe, the guy that I said the Bills are going to pick at 30, went the pick right after we took Greg Rousseau. That's because I didn't even think Greg Rousseau was going to be there at 30.
Exactly.
So it is just awesome to me that the Bills this year and a couple of the previous years have not been drafting for need.
Yep.
They're drafting best available.
Yep.
And on top of that, you're able to get the best, like the guy that you think is going to fit your room the best at that at your spot. And if you don't like it, you trade back.
Yeah.
And that's what we did in the end of the fifth round.
We
yep,
traded
which
back.
is our next thing.
Yeah. So the Bills had 2 fifth-round picks going into the draft. They ended up trading their second one to get out, and they accumulated 2 picks in the 6th round in return. The reason why Brandon Beane even came out, said we were sitting there at the later end of the 5th round, and we saw that there was a lot more talent that was more accumulative in the 6th, that we were willing to trade back and accumulate more picks, because something I didn't even think about until I heard it last night on the radio draft coverage was the NCAA gave a lot of these kids who don't get drafted, they get the opportunity to go back and play. So a lot of kids have like this special program set up where if they didn't get drafted and they became unrestricted free agents, they were able to go back to the colleges and play another year
because
of COVID.
Yes. Okay. That's actually really cool.
So the undrafted free agent pool is actually a lot smaller now than it was in years past, because of that new circumstance. And it's only going to be happening this year. So Brandon Beane said he felt more comfortable trading back and even accumulating just one more player, because once you get to the undrafted free agent stage, you're then competing with dollars and cents. So it's all a money game. If you get the pick, he's your guy. So they traded back. The first pick we took in the 6th round, I believe, was Damar Hamlin, who, yes, it was safety Damar Hamlin. And I'm calling this right now. This is another Pitt kid. Billy chimed in earlier and said he wanted us to talk about Dane Jackson. This guy has a very similar mentality to Dane Jackson. It doesn't matter where he's drafted. This dude's ball instincts are off the charts.
Yep.
He might not freak you out athletically. He might not have the fastest time. But in terms of football instincts, him and Dane Jackson are 1 and 2.
Yes.
In terms of like, these guys are they just so happen to be around the ball.
Yes.
All the time. And when Dane got his chance last year, he was around the ball, had an interception, made plenty of tackles. The thing I like about these Pitt boys that we've got now on Buffalo, man, they're not afraid to tackle. They're not afraid to step up. And they just happen to be like ball hawks. They're around the ball.
They seem to be lucky is the way that I would describe it. But I'm really excited for this pick because this kid was second team All-American in the ACC. I'm excited about that.
Played Clemson.
Yep, he played Clemson. This kid has had a very good college career. This is a great
depth, dude.
Not depth pick, but this is one of the best quality picks of the draft.
Yeah.
This kid could have gone a couple rounds earlier. In any other draft year, this kid's probably a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick. He's a very solid safety for being young. And this kid, I can't say enough how important it is to know somebody in the locker room. Dane Jackson and him, obviously teammates in Pitt last year.
Yep.
Or 2 years ago. This is huge for them to be able to come back together. Dane Jackson's trying to make a roster spot again this year. I have a good feeling that he's gonna, especially with guys like Cam Lewis on a 1-year deal now, Saran Neal on a 1-year deal now. There's one more too. Taron Johnson on the last year of his contract.
Yep.
The secondary area is an area that we need to start looking at as more of a competition because a lot of guys are on the last year of their contract. Not to mention, we only had 4 safeties on the roster when we took this kid.
Yep.
So he's now the 5th safety. He's almost guaranteed to make the team as long as we don't sign another safety in the offseason. And it's just exciting because I feel like him and Dane Jackson are going to push each other to make this team and be the best versions of themselves that they can be. That is huge to me. I think that's the biggest reason why Sean McDermott, not Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane is bringing in guys that are familiar with each other because it helps them to get that extra little push. Like, dude, you're making this team.
Yeah.
If I'm making this team, you're making this team. I need you here. We're bros. We're homies. We got this. We're gonna run this town.
Yep.
Like that's the kind of mentality that a lot of these young guys bring. That's what we used to do.
Yeah.
Like you want that from your teammates. Not to mention, you get familiar with other guys sooner when you already have a buddy there.
Right.
So it's just huge. This is a great pick, great quality, or
great
probably one of the best valued picks in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. A lot of these picks, best player available. We've been preaching that since we started talking about the draft. You can never have enough depth, and like Brandon Beane said about Spencer Brown, the offensive tackle, you are one injury away from being injured or severely. What's the word I'm looking for? Severely weak, I guess, at a position if you're not prepared for that position to go down. If Micah Hyde went down or Jordan Poyer went down, there is a very big difference in talent from Jordan Poyer to Saran Neal and Micah Hyde to Jaquan Johnson. Jaquan Johnson we took 2 years ago or last year.
2 years ago.
And now we add to that safety depth. I think what I like the most about this draft is that it sets us up not only in case somebody goes down, but for the longevity of the Buffalo Bills. You get guys in here like Damar Hamlin who are already have a knack for the game that you can't teach. It's just like it's mentally ingrained in them where to be, how to be, what to read here when this is happening. Like you can just tell this kid has football instincts. And now you're going to put him behind 2 of the best safeties in the league and potentially the best safety duo in the league to learn the concept of the Buffalo Bills defense for the next couple of years. I mean, this is what creates dynasties.
Yes.
This is what creates longevity and creating not just this year. Everybody knows that this is the Super Bowl years or our Super Bowl chance, but they're creating an opportunity to make it so just about every year that they're here, it's a Super Bowl chance. As long as Josh Allen's here and this front office is here, they're always going to look for the quality depth and getting guys like Damar Hamlin in the 6th round with the production that he put up in college and the teams he played. He did his 111th in college just fine, and I think he's going to do his 111th.
And not to mention, you look at Dane Jackson, he's got the kind of build that if he puts on another 10 to 20 pounds of muscle, he could be moved to safety. Mm-hmm. And then you got 2 guys that have been playing with each other since college, possibly a safety duo in the future. Yeah. So I know that that's a long shot. It would be cool if they did that. I'm really excited about this pick, though, and I just want to keep rolling right along here. Who do we get in the 6th round?
Rashad Wildgoose, cornerback out of Wisconsin, and a lot of people were speculating we were going to get a corner early. I was one of those people, but because of how the draft fell, I knew we weren't going to do it after we got to pick 30. I mean, Caleb Farley went off the board. When I saw Eric Stokes go late to the Green Bay Packers, I knew a run was going to be taken off early in the 2nd round. That's when you saw Melifonwu, Asante Samuel Jr., some Kentucky kids. So once that happened, I kind of knew that the Bills were just going to be doing that best player available. And that's why you saw 2 DNs, 2 O-lines, and then they went with the safety. And now they're going to come back and hit it again in the secondary with a cornerback, Rashad Wildgoose, who many people say that he's the smoothest moving corner. Now, I don't know how that translates to the NFL, but they say he's silky smooth. He's not the most athletic guy, which kind of seems to be the prototype in the secondary that we're looking for. We're looking for bigger guys who aren't afraid to step up on the line of scrimmage and tackle. And Wild Goose is one of those guys. He will step up. He will hit you. Same thing with Damar Hamlin. These guys, they're not the biggest dudes, but they play bigger than their size. And that's something that even the old school Panthers were doing with Josh Norman. And they expect their corners to be up on the line of scrimmage, applying pressure to the wideouts, reading for runs, and then collapsing on the run game if they can. So Wisconsin, known for great defenses.
Yes,
they're a very prolific style college team on both sides of the ball.
Not so much corners, but good defenses.
Good defenses. Yeah, I don't know the last like top corner to come out of Wisconsin, but at the end of the day, this is just another thing that we're just going to keep reiterating. It's another youthful person to come in behind a very, very, very productive secondary in the NFL who have communication down to a T from the D-line to the secondary. And just being able to sit back, I mean, we saw what happened with Josh Allen when he just got to sit behind Derek Anderson for 6 games. Imagine having all these youthful guys now in your secondary and your linebackers and your DNs sitting back watching guys who have been very successful in the NFL. Man, when they get into the game, it's going to be like they were never a rookie. They're going to be so used to the lingo and everything's going to feel comfortable. And the only jitters they're going to have is, holy crap, this is my first play of the NFL.
Yeah.
Other than that, they're going to know what everything is. They're not just getting thrown in and expected to produce now. They're expected to just learn the position the way that the players play it and the coaches want it. And they have the ability to do that. I think both of these guys are almost not, I'm not going to say they're guaranteed, but I think as long as they do what's asked of them in camp, both these guys.
So about Damar Hamlin,
yeah,
too.
Hamlin,
I think Damar Hamlin's almost guaranteed a spot on this team.
He could be
because you got Jaquan Johnson, you got Poyer and you got Hyde, and then you got a guy that they signed from the practice squad at the end of last season that you really don't know what you have in. Mm-hmm. You actually have more of an idea of what you have in Damar Hamlin than you do this other kid.
Yeah.
So I think Damar Hamlin's almost guaranteed a spot on this team.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, Rashad Wildgoose, I don't know if he's going to make the team. He's probably a practice squad kind of guy at this point because we already have – you got Saran Neal, who's listed as a corner now. You got
but I think that's what we're transitioning into again, dude. I think this whole defense, other than linebackers, is being grouped into one thing. Like –
oh, you mean that, like whole D-line,
yeah,
whole secondary?
Whole secondary. Like, because honestly, I really do feel like if need be, Tre'Davious White could go out and play safety.
Oh, I know he could.
If it had to happen,
he's big enough to.
Poyer was being played as a corner in Cleveland sometimes, outside and inside. Micah Hyde has been all over the secondary. Yes. Taron Johnson, he's mostly known as the nickel, but he can go outside and play there. Levi Wallace played nickel and outside at Alabama, played a little bit here in Buffalo when we had Norman and we were rotating all those guys in. These guys are versatile. And I think when you look at how the Bills are creating and developing their secondary, they're developing them to play at all positions. I mean, Dean Marlowe last year was playing big nickel and deep safety for us when Poyer or Hyde got hurt.
Yeah.
So I think
Damar Hamlin's the replacement for Dean Marlowe right now.
I really think Wild Goose could make a push against who I love, Cam Lewis. I've been high on Cam Lewis for years.
I think Dane Jackson makes that push.
Yeah, Dane Jackson could arguably be the cornerback number 2 this year. Brandon Beane's been high on him ever since the season ended, saying that he firmly believes that Dane Jackson is going to push Levi Wallace for the starting shot. And that's great to hear because Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace are going to have a healthy competition, and Levi knew that before he signed that deal. So whatever Dane does, it's just going to make Levi better, and whatever Levi does, it's going to make Dane better. And this defense is going to be scary next year if all these guys hit that they've brought in, signed, and drafted. So let's keep moving right along with it. So the Bills in the 6th round go with 2 D-backs or in the secondary. It's been kind of a common theme. The only position we didn't double down on in this draft was wide receiver. But other than that, we kind of stuck in the same
guard.
Yeah. But then 7th round, we come right back at guard with Jack Anderson. I believe he's out of Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken. Greg had a little bit more info on this, which is kind of ironic to me because Greg's a Giants fan. But Jack Anderson is somebody that I wasn't too familiar with. But when I got on here today before we got live to come to you guys, he was pretty high on him. So, Greg, I would like it if you could just kind of tell them what you told me earlier, what you like about this kid, and if you see some production come out of him in the future.
I have. What was I saying earlier?
You said that you liked him because I guess he's pretty versatile along the offensive line. He doesn't just.
Yeah, so he's listed as an interior lineman. So he was actually taking snaps at center as well at the Senior Bowl, along with playing both guard positions. And he says he's even willing to go out into tackle. So like this is a really nice player to have. Again, kind of to talk about like what you guys were saying, like it's the issue that the Giants are running into now. This is our Nick Gates. The issue is Nick Gates hasn't been able to sit there for a few years and learn from the players ahead of him. We've had to throw Nick Gates in as a lineman already, so he's getting burnt as a center because he's started his first game last year at center. So Jack Anderson and the roster that you guys have there can really benefit that he can sit and take time and learn from all these guys around. And then when he is ready to be a consistent part of this offensive line, he can have experience all over that line and basically be able to be thrown in wherever you guys need him.
Yeah, kind of like Bodker this past year. When he stepped in, he was the man.
Yep.
Like it was like he was the day one starter when he stepped in.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Greg. I think this kid's got a lot of upside. Yeah, he's a late pick in the draft, but the upside on him is phenomenal. He can play any position on the offensive line. This is just the prototypical Brandon Beane move. Is you want a guy that's versatile, that's going to be able to be molded into what you want him to be,
experience,
and has the experience as an interior guy. Not to mention he's got the intangibles to be a tackle if you need him.
Yep.
So this is just another depth position, a depth filler for right now. This is probably the kind of guy that might sit on the practice squad for a year and learn. We'll have to see because there's a lot of talent on this offensive line now and a lot of depth.
Well,
so it's going to be a fight till the end for even those practice squad positions. I don't know. Are they doing the practice squad the same way that they did the practice squad last year where it's expanded?
So. I think it's now going back to normal. They expect full capacity at like every stadium now. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think that a lot of the guys that they brought in the free agent period, like Jamil Douglas, Bobby Hart, like I mentioned earlier, those guys are the guys who have the fire lit under their ass now. These guys have to show up because these younger dudes, they've got a lot to prove, and they're coming in with chips on their shoulders.
Yeah, they're going to want to make this.
They want to be a part of this. They want to be a part of the success that Buffalo's been having, and that's what I like about what this regime does. They just continue to add great depth, and that's why when it gets down to cut time, I remember the past 2 years, a lot of the guys that we cut end up getting picked up by other teams. Like
instantly,
we are drafting and producing quality backup players that we have to drop just because our depth is becoming so much better than years past here in Buffalo, to where other teams are like, man, like that kid's third string on their team, but he could be a starter or second string on our team, and we really need him. He's third, possibly practice squad over here at some positions, offensive line being one of them, but none of these guys fall short of being able to come in and compete and taking that second string slot over any of these guys that are already here. Ryan Bates being one of them. I mean, Ike Boker. And I know you mentioned late round pick, a lot of upside. It's players like Ike Boker, Levi Wallace, Cam Lewis, who I actually find so much joy in these later round picks and undrafted free agents, because we actually have quite a bit of guys on this team who, when they were just given the opportunity, they excelled and made something of it.
And they were overlooked by the rest of the league. That you love, that's your thing, is you love the underdog story. My thing is I like guys that can do multiple things for you and have the potential. And I want to see that potential out there in the field. I don't care if you're taking first overall or if you're taking 252nd overall or 255th. I can't remember how many draft picks. Is it 256? I can't remember. 257. Or even undrafted. I don't care where you are. If you're coming to Buffalo, I want to see what kind of potential you have, and I want to see it out there on the field. And that's what I love about the preseason. I know a lot of people hate the preseason because it's slow. They don't want to. They don't want to watch bad football where it's backup against backup, and I get it. It does suck at times, but I like to watch and try to break down each position and like see guys make good plays on a bad team, basically.
I mean, that's why we fell in love with Daryl Johnson and like Tyrell Dodson, because like when they were playing in the preseason, like
I mean,
we saw them.
The reason that people love Christian Wade so much is because of the preseason.
Yeah.
So
Nate Peterman became a starting quarterback because of preseason.
Yes. These are. I mean, it's just fun to see what kind of potential these guys have, even if it is against second, third string guys on other teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy though, because we've been putting together the kind of backups that are able to be second and starters around the league.
Yeah.
So whenever our preseason is like, whenever our second or third string is out there, they're playing against a less quality type of player typically.
Right.
Like our second and third string are like we just said, it could be starters on other teams. So when you're having guys that could be starters on other teams against guys that are probably not going to make a roster, you could see the difference in skill level, and it's
I remember even when we had Tariq Jackson at quarterback in preseason, and our offensive line was giving him so much time to where this kid could literally throw the ball 75 yards down the field just to keep throwing interceptions.
I missed
He was basically just throwing punts every time.
I think Tariq Jackson just signed with the Eagles.
I don't know, but
pretty sure.
For those that wanted more corners in the draft, I told Graham and Greg before, I wanted to see at least 2 corners go in the draft. They took 1 plus the safety, but they didn't fall short in the undrafted free agent signing period, which is right after the draft. Right when it's done, agents are calling teams are calling agents. They are trying to pick up and money grab a bunch of players who are not taken in the draft. One being Elijah Griffin, cornerback out of USC. The numbers won't spark out at you. There's reasons why he wasn't drafted in the 7 rounds. To that, I don't know. But comes from a reputable college, and that college is known for creating NFL talent across the board. So we'll see if Elijah Griffin can come in here and compete. Like I said, Cam Lewis was one of these guys. Levi Wallace was one of these guys, and they have worked their asses off to maintain the 50.
And if you guys remember, Robert Foster was undrafted too, and he had one really good year for us, and then I don't know. I guess he just didn't put in the work. I kind of miss Robert Foster sometimes.
Tanner Gentry, wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills, was an undrafted free agent who we ended up picking up to help out Josh Allen, former teammates at Wyoming. But Elijah Griffin, cornerback USC, I like him a lot. I think he's going to come in here and compete. Same with Nick McLeod, cornerback out of Notre Dame. I wasn't able to find any real highlights on him, and I really didn't look up his stats. But at the end of the day, it's more depth. It's more competition. These guys, you might not hear of them, but then they come in all of a sudden and they make a name for themselves and start making plays. Cyrus Tatelli. I totally butchered his last name probably, but I'm going to give it a go anyway and let that fly. Another offensive tackle, 6'7", freakishly big. I mean, you can just see the prototypes we talked about earlier. The DNs are big and lanky. The offensive tackles are big and lanky. They're getting ready to – this regime is finally you're finally seeing their prototypes come through with these draft classes, and you're seeing that we like big linebackers, we like fast linebackers, our outside linebackers, we like undersized linebackers. We like them around 220.
Speaking of linebackers, real quic, today is Tremaine Edmonds' birthday.
Happy
so if you guys follow the Bills at all on any social media, I'm sure you've seen the post. Make sure you show it some love. Make that guy feel like he's really welcome still here in Buffalo. It's important to celebrate people's birthdays. So, but the guy I'm most excited about on this list of undrafted free agents has got to be Quentin Morig, the tight end out of Bowling Green. Because that's a position that obviously we've had some uncertainty with Dawson Knox. Tommy Sweeney sat out all last year. He had some upside. And we brought in somebody in free agency, didn't we?
Yeah, we brought in Jacob Hollister.
Yes, Jake Hollister, who's already familiar with Josh Allen.
Played at Wyoming.
Quentin Morig. Morris. Sorry, I keep saying Morig. Quentin Morris is a guy that is a long shot to make this team, but they addressed the tight end position somewhat throughout this, and it just gives you more competition and more depth, and we'll see who the best guy is. I have a feeling that Jacob Hollister is probably going to be our new starting tight end.
I honestly think Tommy Sweeney, given a shot, is going to push for the second tight end spot.
I agree
He
with
was
that.
great for us. I remember going to the blue and white practice
Yep.
and watching him take off. I mean, he sometimes looked better than Dawson Knox. And when he played in the games, he actually played really well. He had some spectacular catches in the preseason.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what Tommy Sweeney can do.
He was a long shot to make the team that year, if you recall, because they had Tyler Croft, they had Dawson Knox, and they had Jason Kroom.
Yep.
And Jason Kroom was supposed to be the guy. And then Jason Kroom gets hurt. And then, I got Tyler Croft. Tyler Croft came here to be my backup. Oh, yeah. Tyler Croft gets hurt.
Yep.
And Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox has really proven to be a good guy. And Tommy Sweeney looks like a great number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So do we really need these other two guys? And then Dawson Knox gets a concussion, I believe. And then all of a sudden you're down to Tommy Sweeney being your starter in the preseason. And it's like it's not night and day, but it's like this kid could really be a starter here in the NFL.
Could.
So he's got a lot of upside. I'm interested to see what this kid can do because obviously the tight end position is the most open, I would say, on this team right now. Where pretty much anybody could take it. Would you agree or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm interested in this kid.
Let's see here. They also signed a safety, Tariq Thompson, out of San Diego State. I mean, you can see all these names on your screen here. But if you're just joining us, we're talking about the undrafted free agent signings here on the Buffalo Binge. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow on any place you listen to your podcast, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Spotify, anywhere. Like, share, follow, tell your friends to tag along and be a part of the Binge. I'm actually kind of intrigued as to why they brought in another wide receiver, Trey Walker. I personally, dude, I think we're so loaded at receiver just based on the free agents we signed at the end of the year last year. Bringing in Powell, keeping McKenzie, having Beasley, you got Sanders, Diggs, Davis, and the list just keeps going on. You got Stevenson now, so I think it's packed. I don't know if they're bringing him in here, so maybe there's more competition at the kick return, punt return game. Could be a possibility, or maybe they see something in this kid that they might not already have on the roster. Some type of intangible. But
I'm sure that they knew that this kid wasn't going to get drafted, but he was on their radar. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm going to say that top to bottom. All these guys that they reached out to after the draft were on their radar in some way. Mm-hmm. Not so much that they didn't want to draft them, but they were looking at the best available at the time that they were taking. And they said, we need to lock this guy up. And we'll take a chance on the rest of these guys. So they're on their radar for a reason. I'm sure that somehow each of these guys that are signed as undrafted free agents are going to make a difference in this locker room, in the competition, and just to elevate and try to make this team the best that it can be.
Absolutely. I like what the Bills did here. I think overall I'm going to give them a B grade. And the only reason why is not because I don't not like any of the picks they took. I'm giving them a B grade just because Rousseau, I'll sit here and say the kid had a phenomenal sophomore year, just a little unrefined. So a lot of it is impending on the development of Rousseau. And if that ends up happening where Rousseau becomes a 10-sack guy or an 8-sack guy a year, then this draft turns into an A easily. That being said, I just think that a lot of the guys that they have are very developmental, but they have the time to develop them right now, which could pay off and turn into being an overall A draft class for the Buffalo Bills.
If I'm giving this draft a grade, I'm saying A- just because I love that they addressed the positions that I thought were the biggest holes on the team, and the hardest to address. Which I think Greg Rousseau was the steal of the first round. I think that Boogie Basham was a great pick in the second round. I'm going A- only on that.
Okay, cool.
Just based on the draft itself, I think an A- is a good grade. I can see where you're going B because there are some uncertainties with a few of these guys.
I mean, just because Spencer Brown plays in a lower kind of like division, Same thing.
The
with
talent level
tackles.
isn't exactly
The
there.
tackles of both Doyle and Spencer Brown, they're gonna get a rude awakening when they come to Buffalo Bills camp. Those guys are gonna be flying around 100 times faster.
Yes.
And it's not that I don't think Rousseau can develop. I'm just saying those three guys are three guys you're hoping your coaching staff can develop into long future teammates. You know what I mean? So you're really hoping your coaching staff comes through for these guys, and if they do, you strike gold. This draft class could turn into an A+. Right. I say it all the time. If you get 3 out of 7 picks right, you win that draft, and the draft didn't beat you if you get 3 out of 7 players who strike and stay with you for past their rookie deals. So that's how I look at this. I feel like there's a lot of guys on this draft sheet that could be here for the longevity of the future of the Bills.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. That I think that's why I give this draft an A- is because a lot of these guys are going to be around for a while. Mm-hmm. You're not going to give up on a guy like Boogie Basham after a year. You're not going to give up on a guy like Tommy Doyle after a year. These are guys that you're going to be able to develop. They have the time to develop. Not only that is that because they were taking best available, they got great value on all of these guys that they drafted. That's why I'm going for A- is because the value for
the value's great.
The value for every pick was fantastic.
Yep.
And you know what, Billy? I know we kind of got off the tight ends. I see what you're saying about Dawson Knox. I would love to see Dawson Knox take a huge leap forward this year. We were both at the game when Dawson Knox ran over that dude for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you could hear that crunch from a mile away. And that game was so exciting. That was kind of like a breakout year for him. The dude has definitely the ability to break out.
He does. There's no doubt Dawson Knox can handle the NFL.
The problem with him is that he drops the ball a lot. He takes his eye off the ball. Yeah. And it's so frustrating.
Yep.
And I can understand why there's a lot of fans that want an upgrade at the tight end position for that. Personally, I feel like we're good. I feel like Dawson Knox can do it. I think that he just needs to get his cases of the dropsies out of the way.
Yep.
And
I think they'll figure it out.
I hope that they do, because I think Dawson Knox has the size, has the speed, has the intangibles to be
a decent tight end.
I wouldn't even say decent. I would say that if he stops dropping the ball and stops fumbling the ball, he could potentially be a George Kittle, Travis Kelce-esque player. Mm-hmm. He's got very good size. He's got very good speed, and it's frustrating to see him drop the ball so often because it lowers his targets, which you never really know what you have with Dawson Knox because of that.
So basically, the biggest thing for Dawson Knox to improve this year is just the consistency. Let's see him reel in, 5 out of 7 targets instead of 3 out of 7.
Yeah,
and
be more of a threat in the red zone.
I firmly believe Dawson Knox, this is going to be a breakout year for him. If there is any year, it's definitely this year, because Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are really going to open up the middle of the field for Dawson Knox to just sneak in and have those small curl routes and just dump offs for Josh Allen. All he has to do is catch, turn, and run 7 yards and get the first down.
Yeah.
So I believe the same thing, Billy. I think Dawson Knox is going to take this full-fledged, because there's no way he doesn't know. There's no way he doesn't know, okay, this is my 3rd year here in Buffalo. If you keep up the same type of production, they're going to pass you. They're gonna get your replacement in there. We've seen what happens. You play the way they ask you to play, you get paid. Look at Levi Wallace and all them. I know they came back on 1-year deals. They would have paid him more if they could, and they would have had him longer if they could, I feel like, in these contract talks. But with the way the salary cap is this year, they were very limited as to who and how they could sign.
Well, see, I look at it as looking at Matt Milano. They paid Matt Milano.
Yeah.
They didn't pay him what everybody thought he was valued at, but he feels that he got paid.
Yep.
They paid Deion Dawkins. They paid Tre'Davious White. If you play well in this organization, you are gonna get paid. So I think that's the thing that Dawson Knox looks at, is like, okay, these guys are gonna take care of me if I play well. I'm 3 years in. This is really my make or break year, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Greg, I agree. So I give the Bills a B. I'm around B plus. Eric gives them an A-.
Yeah. For value.
James has a comment in the feed here asking Greg, what grade do you give your Giants? Because if you don't know now, for those of you tuned in, Greg is a Giants fan.
I gotta see what Greg
I
said.
think we gave
earlier
him a
in our
whole
chat
box of
because
tissues
that was
for the first round.
I laughed hysterically when he said this
so-
to us in the group chat.
So yeah, Greg, why don't you chime in and answer James's question for the young man?
Well, I'll start. I'll give you guys a B plus. And same thing you guys were saying. It hinges on what Gregory Rousseau can put up. For the Giants, I'm going to also give the Giants a B.
Okay.
So I don't like who we picked in the first round. I don't like addressing wide receiver that early. That didn't change at all. The redeeming quality on that is we traded down and we got a first round pick for next year. After that, I love all of the Giants picks. I love Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. Fantastic pass rusher, played against the best in college football has to offer. Had 8+ sacks in his final year in college. Love the pick. We addressed corners, outside linebackers. We need depth in the cornerbacks, and we need a pass rush just to begin. We just need a pass rush to begin with. It's not even depth at that point. We also picked up a running back because Wayne Gallman left. So we got a third running back to go along with Saquon, and I can't think of who we signed in the offseason. But honestly, I give him a B. Maybe I'd say B-.
Okay, B- for the New York Giants. There you go, James. So it wasn't a complete loss for him, James. You know, there was just the first round. He was a little upset, and rightfully so.
Not to mention the Bills. Like I understand that the Giants need to address the offensive line a little bit. The Bills are probably going to have some kind of castaway this year that is going to be better than somebody that's on the Giants offensive line that the Giants could potentially pick up.
So let us know. Leave us a comment. Who do you think the best pick was value-wise for the Buffalo Bills in this year's 2021 NFL Draft? And if you were there with us during the live feed during the draft, thank you so much for sticking with us and coming back here today. James, like we said, you know, you've been here for the past couple of weeks now, and it's great to have you in the comments.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Billy, thank you for joining today and giving us your insight, because honestly, this is what we love. We love to be able to communicate with you guys, answer your questions, and give our takes on things based on what you're asking us. If you guys want to have a full-fledged conversation with us on here, we'll totally do it. I can't say enough how important it is that you guys have been here. So it is huge for us, and we both really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everybody, for tagging along. The Buffalo Sabres play tomorrow at 7 p.m. next Sunday. I believe by Sunday we are going to be out of Sabres games. So we will do an end-of-the-year recap for the Buffalo Sabres come Sunday. Billy, thank you, man.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's been huge. Billy, who's your highest valued pick so far, or highest value pick that the Bills took this year? I want to know what you think. What you think the best pick the Bills took in this year's draft was.
Yep. And while we wait for him to comment on that, like I said, by Sunday, I'm pretty sure the Sabre season will be wrapped up. So we will do an end of the year recap just on what we think the Sabres are going to do in the offseason. If Jack Eichel's going to be here, if we're going to sign Sam Reinhart, what kind of numbers we're looking at for that. And again, ladies and gentlemen,
protecting for the expansion draft.
Yep, it's been a pleasure.
Boogie, I'm with you, man. I think Boogie's a great pick.
Probably more NFL ready than Greg Rousseau. Boogie Basham is probably more NFL ready, which is okay. And I like the experience Boogie gets in college. A lot of these guys that the Bills took have some solid experience and versatility in college, and that's the typical prototype that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott look for. So again, thank you, Billy, for tagging in, James for tagging in. Stay tuned if you're a Sabres fan tomorrow, 7 o'clock against the Islanders. We'll be back next Sunday, and Graham, plug them in before we peace out. Man.
Yeah, so obviously you guys know we do this every week, but if you guys want to get more involved in the conversation, leave comments on all our posts on the Facebook page, on our Instagram. If you guys want, go hit us up on Twitch. We're YouTube, Spotify. We're all over the place. All our social medias are the Buffalo Binge or at the Buffalo Binge or at Buffalo Binge, I believe. Mm-hmm. Right, Greg? Yeah. So I can't. I know I mostly take care of the Facebook. Mm-hmm. Greg kind of handles everything else. Yeah, which is huge, and it is a big relief for me. Have a nice day. Thank you, you too, Billy. You guys are the best. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing to everything. And get the word out there because we want to grow this community as quickly as possible. we love being able to have conversations with other Bills fans and see where the fan base is at as far as agreeing and disagreeing on things. I know that both of us are members on Bills Mafia.
Yep.
We see both sides a lot, but it would be nice to actually have a live conversation with people, whether they agree with us or disagree with us, and understand why. Because I read some of the comments, and a lot of them are really toxic, and a lot of them are really, really insightful.
Right.
And it's hard to separate because there's people that just like to joke around, and you know how it is. We're all a bunch of big assholes sometimes on social media. So it's nice to be able to get on here and talk to people about what they like and what they don't like, and give our takes and listen to theirs. So make sure you guys are sharing the podcast and trying to grow this community with us, because we love you guys for showing up every week, and it's been awesome. Thank you so much.
And I just want to give a quick thanks to our producer Greg Halpin for putting the images that you saw today up on your screen. He's been a great, wonderful help in addition to the show since joining, and we can't get enough of Greg. I'd kiss him if he was here, but it's too bad he's 4 hours away in Albany. Enjoy your Sunday, and as always,
Binge on.